Another weekend filled with great heavy metal albums has come and gone, and there's still so many to talk about. Hi, I'm coverkillernation, your host of this week's episode of 5 recently released metal albums that you should check out. Actually, I'm the host of all of these episodes. You should watch all of them. Check out the playlist at the end of the video. And also, this was originally supposed to have 6 albums. However, Trees of Eternity's brand new album, Hour of the Nightingale, was so stunning that it got a full-length review. You can scope out that link somewhere around me or at the end of the video as well. I implore that you do. It's stunning. It's fantastic. You will not regret it. But we still need to talk about 5 more. That's our job. That's our duty. Let's get started. Let's start off with Saor with their brand new album, Guardians. Now, this is a Scottish atmospheric black metal band that throws in a little bit of folk. There is a lot of Scottish pride that is laced within all of these tracks and really the entire discography. And here's something that's super cool for all of you wrestling fans. This has the seal of approval and the recommendation of your Olympic hero and mine, Kurt Angle. That was something that was really cool and completely unexpected. However, the album is definitely one that's worth it. These 5 tracks, all of them are 10 minutes in length or more, and this is something that is able to swirl between those 2 sides that this band has really been able to accomplish. I say band, it's a one-man project, let's move forward, but it is able to seamlessly go from that, very atmospheric black metal idea quickly into the folk, and you can hear that between Guardians and the Declaration, and then the transition into Autumn Rain, which has one of the most beautiful introductions that you're going to hear this month. This is absolutely fantastic, and certainly captures that folk side and that atmospheric side, combining together, and showcases the atmospheric black metal beauty that sometimes gets mired over all of the heaviness. The vocals can take a little bit of getting used to, but if you're used to this style already, it's going to feel like it's right at home. There's a lot of comfort that's made in this, and the overall compositions are solidly produced, and this is an album that's a smooth listen despite its more than 50 minutes of length. Definitely scope this one out, even if you're not a fan of atmospheric black metal. Just do it for your Olympic hero in mind. Kurt's right on this one, and I am too. You may be shocked to see Enslaved on one of these episodes, typically a band that we handle in full-length reviews. This is an EP that they've just released, though, entitled The Sleeping Gods, Thorn. This is a collection of 2 EPs that came out in between the albums Axima Ethica Odne and Retir, which is from the first part of this decade, the 2010s. And it kind of gives you a nice idea of what Enslaved is all about. Say that you're somebody who has heard people hyping up this band maybe for a couple of years or even just for a couple of months but have no idea what they sound like. Hard to imagine in this digital age, but some people are pensive. This is a good way to get introduced a little bit, considering the very first 4 tracks are from the one EP, and then the second, or the latter 3 is from the Sleeping Gods, which I do believe we even covered in a review. I don't know, somebody remind me. The very first 2 tracks showcase Enslaved's real power and their traditional style of progressive black metal, something that they have really been a huge trailblazer for, and that Viking idea is tossed in there just a little bit here and there. It's a debate point, who really cares. The last 2 tracks of the first half are very interesting, considering they tone things down quite a bit, with Synthesis, the 3rd track, almost seeming like it was meant to be some sort of weird ambient track, going into Nordless, which is an instrumental. Now, the Sleeping Gods, Disintegrator, and Striker really go back to that traditional style. It's definitely material that you can see the leap from Axima into Retir, how the transition of this band was continuing to further itself more into progressive territory. So if this is going to be your first application or your first real diving into Enslaved, give this EP a listen. It's going to get you a little bit of an idea. And aside from that, if you're a collector, this is a must-have. The third exploration is Atrophy by the band Downfall of Gaia. These guys are a post-black metal band that definitely still have a lot of links to the actual black metal sound. There's not much of the post really on this disc. It's one that still has a lot of that raw ferocity, and you can hear that within these sort of tortured screams that you get throughout the album as vocals that just cascade around just the mountain of riffs that are constantly constructed with each of these cuts. Now, Brood, the very first cut, starts off with a little bit more atmosphere, almost as though they're going to aim to maybe change things up right from the get-go. It might be more of a black gaze affair as opposed to a traditional post-black metal album, but this is one that quickly descends into that black metal chaos and certainly has a lot of timbre in that direction. Now, the centerpiece of this album is the 9.5-minute Ephemeral, which is track number 3, that then has a sequel, which is a softer, nearly 2.5-minute instrumental that goes into easily some of the hardest material on this album with the title track and the finale. This 6-track affair only spans about 40 minutes, and it's one that has enough power and command over what you are doing and really just keeps you glued to the composition that it's certainly worth mentioning and certainly worth exploring. These guys are from Germany. They are a couple of albums into their career, and they seem to be doing fairly well and definitely improving, so scope these guys out. Sirenia with Dim Days of Dolor. What a name. This is their 8th album. This is their first with Emanuel Zoldan as the lead female vocalist. They've had a number of those throughout their existence, which dates back to the early 2000s, etc. This is Gothic and Symphonic Metal 101 is the best way that I can describe this album. There have been plenty that have really come in throughout this year and have factored into the equation, but this is one that feels like it's going back to some of the basics. It's, you know, all about writing catchy riffs and letting the vocals handle the rest, letting Emmanuel's voice just sort of go awash over top of these compositions and let that beauty sort of take over you. Think about Corsets and, you know, maybe Old England, even though these guys are from Norway. It's just got a very sort of pseudo-romantic feel to it, even though these lyrics are mostly talking a little bit about life and some mental decay, things of that variety, which is kind of interesting. Now, the title track, Dim Days of Dolor, I would love to hear on the radio. I would kill to actually be cruising down the road and hear a track like this. It's extremely catchy, the vocals are top-notch, everything just feels very well polished. This is a track that easily should be consumed by a lot of people and get them into this band. It has sort of that identity to it. The one thing I will say about this album, sort of to the contrary, is that there's not a lot of, you know, real variety here. It's something that maintains itself within the same mid-range pace. You're not getting a lot of moments where it sort of gets stripped down a little bit. You get one or two. However, it mainly remains with that middle pace. I hope to see that as they grow with Emmanuel as their vocalist, that continues to sort of go in the opposite direction and you get a little bit more of a complete album. And I especially hope that after hearing the final track, Aeon's Embrace, which showcases just how she can really dominate a track and just really command your attention. But either way, if you're a fan of symphonic and gothic metal, this is definitely one you can't miss, so scope it out. We conclude our journey today with The Rain After the Snow, which is the brand new album by Dark Lunacy, who has been self-professed by band members as dramatic death metal. There's a little bit of symphonic in there as well, and you can definitely sort of see it a little bit. It definitely can be a little bit over the top, just to scope out the first couple of tracks, and especially once you get to Gold, Rubies, and Diamonds, where everything just sort of goes a bit over the top. You hear some fiddles, and yeah, they really have a flair for the dramatic. It's definitely apparent. But overall, the death metal side of this is pretty basic. It's something that is really captivated a little bit more by the overall composition, which at times mirrors the theme of whatever song title that you see. Really, whenever you take a listen to Gold, Rubies, and Diamonds, I'm immediately, you know, putting my mind toward a bar or some sort of shanty where a bunch of pirates that just went plundering decided that they were done a plundering and now they needed to start a drinking. So there you go. It was definitely one that matched up very well. Whenever these guys go a little bit longer in their compositions, which is not very often on this album, with tracks such as Life Deep in the Lake, which is 5.5 minutes, this is where I think the band opens up a little bit, but also sometimes runs out of steam. So it's a really interesting clash there. But overall, this is an album that captivates in some of its variety and just really is able to handle things very well. They have a brand new guitar player who's kicking ass, and overall, this is a pretty good album. I definitely recommend that you scope it out if you have some time. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, 5 recently released albums that you should probably check out. Don't forget to scope out the remaining episodes in the playlist. There's about 20 or so, but that's the potential to, you know, find out about 100 new bands, you know, after the video concludes, and definitely scope out Trees of Eternity. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything that you're excited about for the weekend of the 18th, which is forthcoming? Let me know in the comments below. I am Coverkiller Nation. It's been a pleasure. I'll speak with you guys next time. Take care. Hey guys, thanks for scoping out the video. Like I told you at the end there, on the left you can see all of the other episodes of 5 recently released albums, and to your right, scope out the review for Trees of Eternity. That is just an amazing album. You can also subscribe to the channel if you want, please do, and also scope out the Patreon. Thanks again for watching. Take care.